Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland, and in this video I'm going to tell you why Lawrence Southern should not have been banned from the United Kingdom. First of all, the question arises, who is Lawrence Southern? Well, Lawrence Southern is a Canadian YouTube personality, and that's her medium of expression of her tendentious political views. She's about 23 years of age, and so her star has risen like a rocket in the past few years. Sorry for that horrid mixed metaphor. And she's part of a group called Rebel Media. Gavin McInnes is one of her allies on that, and she's known for her hard-hitting, fast-talking style. She's eloquent, oracular, very often controversial. So she makes very engaging viewing, and yes, she's lubricious too, which doesn't help. So she's mature beyond her years. Now, she's not entirely to my taste. She's often accused of being far right. And what is far right? Is it just a boo word that anyone who's liberal left or even far left will call people who are not left-wing to try and delegitimize them, to insult them, suggest they're Nazis and or racist? However, in her case, I think this accusation is not entirely unfounded. I'm not saying it's accurate, but sometimes what she says is perilously close to white supremacism. So she's the thinking man's Tomi Lahren, certainly more articulate, intelligent, and convincing than Tomi Lahren. And she slaughters many sacred cows. She skewers a lot of these left-wing pieties, things like the Me Too movement or the claim that there's rape culture in Occidental countries, rightly pointing out at feminist protests that regret is not rape. And of course, this woman, she acknowledges that rape is a monstrous crime, which is precisely why we must be so careful about false accusing people of it and unduly extending the definition, so that if any alcohol has been consumed whatsoever, that vitiates consent. She's saying that's bogus. If somebody was wrongfully convicted of shoplifting, well, that would be a triviality. It's not a particularly opprobrious crime. But if somebody is wrongfully convicted of this crime at all, which is rightly regarded as a heinous offence against morality as well as law, then that person's life would be wrecked. Anyway, so she's taken aim against this so-called rape culture, alarmism. She vituperates Islam, and some of her criticisms of certain Muslims are fair, others are not. Anyway, she's had the guts to take on the far left, and she's been assaulted in London, her friends likewise. One of her most controversial episodes is when she went to Luton, a small town in the United Kingdom, and it has a significant Muslim community. She teamed up with a chap called Tommy Robinson, not his real name. Tommy Robinson's born in England to Irish parents. He founded the EDL, English Defence League, which is a multiracial group, and it really does have non-white people who are members of it. And what it does is it is against the Islamization of the United Kingdom, so they say. However, that shades into being anti-Muslim, although they do have one Muslim member. They seem to draw no distinction between the most unrepresentative, vicious Muslims and the majority of ordinary Muslims. Anyway, so Lawrence Southern, she stood in the centre of Luton, in a pedestrian area with a sign saying Allah is something. I shan't repeat it. A Ganymede, all right, so I'll use that euphemism. And she attracted attention, which she wanted to do. Well, if you're going to be on the media, you need to be a bit of an attention seeker. But she was trying to expose double standards. Because if someone says Jesus is gay in the United Kingdom, no action is taken. But most Muslims would find what she said to be monstrously offensive. So it was a hideous statement as they would see it, and an angry crowd gathered and they barracked her and so on, but she stood her ground with her stall. She was testing the limits of freedom of expression, and the police came along and were saying, would you please put away that sign? Would you kindly leave? And the police said, we might need to confiscate your sign. You can see all this video on YouTube. There's a law in the United Kingdom that anything that causes fear, distress, or alarm to another person is a crime. Now, that's an unwarranted abridgment of our civil liberty. It's intruded too much into the right to free expression. Now, one has to sympathise with the police. These officers do not make the law. It is their duty to uphold the law, whatever that is, whether they agree with it or not. But there was likely to be a public disorder situation the police had on their hands, because the crowd was gathering, the mood was turning ugly. They were not going to be able to guarantee her safety. There were only so many police officers. There are many other issues to deal with around the town, crimes to investigate, and just to deter crime that they're patrolling. So eventually they said, we are obliged to seize this sign for your safety and you get out of here. Because there could be a fight between her supporters, the EDL, not many of them, and some of the Muslim community who were enraged by this highly provocative statement. So they've got to keep public order, the police. Anyway, she left the United Kingdom and she sought to re-enter, but she's been banned from coming back into the United Kingdom because her presence is not conducive to the public good. And she was briefly held under the Terrorism Act when she was in the UK, I think for a matter of hours. Now, one can't take her side too much because she's a stern critic of immigration. So she's no right to be in the United Kingdom. The UK may do her a favour by allowing her in, but the UK has decided not to privilege her by allowing her to come in because she tends to stir the hornet's nest. Anyway, I disagree with what's been done to her. I think she ought to be allowed to express her highly tendentious opinions. That's what a free society is the cut and thrust of debate. And people sometimes express themselves in a manner that's shrill, that other people find very objectionable. So I think we've lost something when certain groups of people and certain belief systems are to be shielded from scrutiny by others and can no longer be exposed to ridicule. And those who feel that their belief system is very vulnerable to ridicule are like that because they think that deep down it is ridiculous. So I would have this woman back in, though I stridently disagree with her on many issues. It's a misuse of the Terrorism Act to do this. And I know that her opinions are unpalatable, such as saying that Europe should stop all immigration from certainly North Africa and from much of the Middle East and South Asia. So there we are, Lauren Southern, to some extent hoisted on her own petard.